Hello, chroeso I Poetry is Alive and Well. Hello and welcome to Poetry is Alive and Well with me, Chris Davies, and
Annie Pelleschi.
I thought I'd let you introduce yourself this time, Annie.
And I remembered my name.
You did, well done.
Thank you.
That's a start, that's a start.
Thank
Anyway,
you.
hello, and we welcome Dominic Williams. Hello, Dominic, how are you?
Hello, Chris. I'm good, thank you. Hey, Annie.
Hi.
Now then, so we brought you in today to talk to you about a bit about your background and your work and what you do. Now, you're from Ferryside, aren't you, in Carmarthenshire?
Yes. Well, I've been in Ferryside for 20 years, so I would certainly say I am now from Ferryside.
Yeah. Where were you from originally then?
Pontypool originally.
Oh, right,
yes,
okay.
Yes, I'm right. Yeah. I'm a Valleys boy originally,
Yeah.
but settled now. West is best.
Brilliant.
And, I shan't be returning.
And of course, there's a Dylan Thomas connection with Ferryside, isn't there, Dom?
There is, yes, many. Well, the aunties, of course, lived, or some of the aunties lived in Llansaint, which is the village above Ferryside, very close. And I mean, there's a particular connection with Ferryside in that one of the locals, Beryl Johnson, Beryl Hughes, wrote a book called The Cat's Whiskers, which she published about characters in Ferryside, characters who used to frequent the White Lion, which was also frequented by Dylan later in life.
Oh, brilliant.
But of course, he would have been familiar with as a child.
Right.
And it kind of claims those mad characters that Lan claims, that Newquay claims as the characters in Under Milkwood.
Oh, brill. So I suppose the similar characters that she saw there is the same as Dylan would have.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, brill. Yeah. So now, day to day, tell us what you do day to day.
Well, many things. My day is very full. I work for the University of Wales, Trinity St David's. I've lectured on occasions in the creative writing course in the Masters and the undergraduate programme. I'm the programme director for the Dylan Thomas Summer School, which takes place in the summer, but I'm also the disability advisor for the Swansea campuses,
right.
which is what I do all day long and fits very nicely with one of my roles. I'm also the chair of Disability Arts Cymru, which is a national charity for disability art. So that marries my day job with my love of creativity.
Right. Yeah. So would you predominantly see yourself as a writer? Is that what you are, a writer?
Yes, I think so. Yes,
yeah?
yes.
Brilliant.
It's one that's very hard to claim. We were talking earlier about the default of a writer sort of denying the worth of their own work. But yes, that's something that I've always done, and I guess always will do, and comes through in the things that I do. Yeah.
Dominic is a host, aren't you, for a monthly poetry group gathering in Carmarthen?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think perhaps facilitation is a lot of what I do. We have a regular gathering in Carmarthen called Poems and Pints at the Queen's, which
Sounds good.
we squeeze to P&P at the Q to make it sound a lot more attractive.
P&P at the Q, I love that. It's a bit like pitcher and piano in Swansea, isn't it? P&P at the Q, I love that.
And there's always a queue.
It's very quick there, Annie.
I know.
Sorry, continue. Yeah.
Yes, no. It's a regular event, like many that exist around Wales, South Wales, particularly the West, I think, which is the home of the oral tradition, if you like.
Yeah.
And there are lots of community events where people come together every month to share the spoken word. P&P at the Q being one. There's the Cellar Bards who meet down in Cardigan. There's a Poems and Pints in Larne. In Swansea, we've got the Talisman Poetry Group who meet twice a month. Howl who meet twice a month. You move further to Neath and the Cheval. There are groups like this all over Wales, you know, who are keeping that tradition alive and well.
But like most hosts or facilitators, as Dominic called himself, Dominic doesn't read his work. And picking up on what he said earlier about a writer not knowing their worth or being afraid.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you don't like discussing your work either, do you, Annie, really?
No.
You always like to discuss other people's.
It's always easier.
Yeah. Now, if I could ask you both, why do you think that is? Why do you find it hard to decipher or to, credit your own work?
I don't know. It's very, very difficult to suggest that people are trying to be humble or they're trying to be quiet, hiding their light under a bushel or whatever. So I think rather than interrogate that and try and put myself on the spot, I would talk about writing in a slightly different way. I always remember Gillian Clarke saying that when she writes poems, once she's conceived that seed of a poem, then she'll work on it, she'll nurture it, she'll allow it to grow, she'll allow it to come to its maturity, and then once it's published, it's out there and it belongs to somebody else. It belongs to the reader. And whatever that poem is, whatever it is to that reader, is what it really is, you know? So I think...
Interesting.
Perhaps I'll deny it. But, yeah.
I think you just skirted it, actually.
Now, there's poetry and writing in the family, isn't there? Because isn't your mother, or wasn't your mother a writer?
Yeah. Well, my mum is certainly a poet, and you know, there's a love of reading that I think most people who write have that comes from somebody in the family, you know. And you know, we were all, as children, we were all voracious readers, and my mum has a great love of literature, and yes, she's a poet. She would be somebody else again, I think, who would say, well, I write my poetry and I let Dominic see it, but nobody else, you know?
Really? That's nice.
Yeah, well, hopefully next month, Poems and Pints, we'll be hearing something from June Williams, 86-year-old poet from Cwm Pengraig. Who knows?
What's lovely is that I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. Dominic had a piece that his mother had written that you answered.
Yes.
And I was privileged enough to be asked to read your answer. And it was stunningly beautiful.
I remember you mentioning this.
Yeah.
Away from the show. I remember you telling me.
That's
so,
right.
so explain that again to the viewers.
Okay.
So,
it was a piece. Actually, my father died about, I don't know, it must be about 14 years ago now. And I'd never written anything for my mum when my father died. Now, I suppose most people would say, well, no, why would you? But that's just, as you say, I suppose, as writers and having that in the family.
And you had that in
my mum
common,
might have
didn't you?
expected that, you know?
Yeah.
And it was some years later, I was at an international residency in Sweden, and we'd been using Dylan Thomas's work for plenty of workshops. Particularly Do Not Go Gentle was being used as almost as an anthem. It was used for lots of different reasons, to describe form, to describe rhythm. And it was walking home late one night that I started to think about my own response to Do Not Go Gentle. Because there are times in life, or there are times of death, when sometimes it is the right time. It's not the time to rage. And I think people often make their own choice about when they die. So it was a poem about my father on his deathbed that I wrote for my mother in response to Go Gentle. And as Annie said then, my mum wrote a poem in response to mine.
Oh, that's
and
lovely.
we read them as a little triptych on that night down
It was
in
lovely.
Pelleschi.
It was
sounds
lovely. Absolutely
gorgeous.
lovely. Lovely.
oh, I'll have to read that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a really...
We'll have to get his mum in.
Yeah, that'd be nice. It's just a nice idea, isn't it? Because you've got that in common, the two of you, you know, and it's nice that you can...
Sometimes you
Bond
can
like
say
that.
more, can't you, when you write it?
Indeed.
Yes, no,
I
you're
think
right.
so.
Because
Yeah, yeah.
you're faced with different confrontations when you're
That's right.
face-to-face, maybe, but then when you've got time to think about it and write it...
Yeah,
it's-
and
it's-
certainly that's my, that condensation is how I work, is how I write poetry. And it's, you know, compacting things down and making one word say 3 or 4 sentences, making a line, speak a paragraph, you know, so that when you're on the same wavelength as somebody, as you hope you would be with your reader, and I certainly hope I am with my own mother, that when you compact and you come up with a small poem, you are talking volumes, hopefully, yeah.
Well, it did speak volumes. It really did speak
Wow.
volumes.
And that's a skill as well to be able to do that, you know, to condense, you know, so much meaning into a word or a sentence.
I think that's the poet's craft, yeah, for sure.
In this
Yeah.
case, it also showed a love, a deep love.
Yes, of course.
It really did.
Yeah,
It was beautiful.
yeah.
Beautifully
Definitely, yeah.
You've written some new stuff, though, haven't you? Because you're forever writing.
Well, I keep going, yes. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think Chris is probably going to ask you to recite something.
That'd be lovely, yeah.
It'd be good for a man to ask another man.
Oh,
wouldn't
really?
it? Well, he might feel then threatened.
Oh, okay.
So you
read me a poem.
Look really threatening. Do you know what I
I'm
mean?
not sure I can do Butch.
Oh, go on.
No, was it Mary's Bar you were going to read?
Mary's Bar,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. I'm having a collection published within a month or so, and that will have some new work as well as old pieces. Mary's Bar is a few years old now, but yeah, maybe that's why I can remember some of it, and I can give you
Can
a
I
piece
just
of it.
cut in a second, because we're about to go to a commercial break, so if you could read it to us after the break, that'd be great.
Of course, no problem.
And yeah.
You've got a breather.
You've got a breather, indeed. So now, just we got 10 seconds left. You've got the International Summer School coming up this summer, haven't you?
That's right.
Now, you direct that, do you?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Myself and Pamela Petro, who's an American travel writer. Together, we bring together a group of American writers for a period of nearly 2 weeks, write about sense of place.
And we'll talk more about that later.
Thank you, Chris.
We'll see you after the break. Thanks very much. Take care. We'll see you too. Hello and welcome back to Poetry is Alive and Well, Croeso Nôl. Now we're still here with Dominic Williams. Now you were about to, weren't you? You were going to recite some of Mary's Bar. So what is this and why we were all going? Is that a different poem or is that a...
Yeah, and why we're all going is actually a line from another poem called The Madman on the Train.
Right.
And The Madman on the Train will be one of the poems that features in the collection.
Oh, so that's the collection title,
So I just pulled that out. That's the collection title.
I see, and then Mary's Bar is in that collection.
Mary's Bar is another poem.
So if you wouldn't mind, because you started the conversation about Mary's Bar, and then we had to rudely interrupt you. I'm ever so sorry. We had to go to commercial break, but do carry on with that.
Okay, Dim Probs. I'll address it to Annie, if I may.
Of course.
Because I think certainly the first verse is quite a bit about womanhood.
Maybe I need to stand up for this, Annie. I'm joking. Her eyes then, honestly, we can see that.
The woman waits. She is 8,000 years born and has flowed through Laurentide flows. A sage and a seer, nursed 1,000 siblings of a species long since displaced. A sacrificial spouse cracked open a womb that spewed east. But migration matters no more. The stars navigate no longer. Supernovas, but moments, foretelling the arrival of a significant one, for the land to welcome home her sun-kissed litter.
Oh,
That's the start.
Lovely.
That was really lovely, wasn't it? Yeah, and the delivery was fantastic as well.
Oh, thank you, Chris.
Yeah. I think I'll put a wig on and you can address it to me next time. No, that was really nice.
You were in my eye line.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, of course.
No, that was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Yeah, and yeah, it's because that's your own work, isn't it? And like you said,
Yes,
you don't very much discuss your own work, but to remember all that as well.
You know, it's once it's there, as I say, it's out there, and I love listening. I love listening to response. I guess that's what it is really. We say that we don't want our we don't credit our work. We just want other people to tell us that it's lovely, and then we'll talk about it.
There we are.
That's
length,
right.
you know.
It's out there then. Yeah.
Well, that'd be the key to opening the floodgates. So tell us a bit. So for those at home, tell us a little bit about the meaning behind that.
There are two other verses, and as I would say, it's a long story. It's compacted an awful lot. What occurs to me now is actually when I say those lines, and I say those lines to perhaps somebody who doesn't know the backstory, doesn't know why I wrote it. It predates the Syrian War, that poem, but there is a lot of talk about migration, what you might consider immigration, a land welcoming back the sun-kissed litter. And the idea of the land being the woman, and we're living in a world that's been absolutely horrible to migrant children. Poem's not about that at all, but just putting that one there for you. The poem, it's in its entirety, is about a conversation on one night in Mary's Bar. Myself and Iwan Bala, the Welsh artist, were together in Mary's Bar, which is a real pub in Wexford. My favourite. It's where I would take my greatest friends. I wouldn't take everybody there. And the poem is very much about the conversation that took place there. In fact, Iwan has in Mary's Bar on permanent display one of his pieces. And that piece is a response to the conversation. My poem is in response to the conversation. Not to each other, it's not like phrases, but they're two creative outcomes to the same conversation, if you like.
Oh, wow.
And when you buy the book, Chris, then you can read it through in its entirety, and then I'll talk to you again about it.
I like your plug there, Dominic. Now tell us about the book. What's the title of the book?
The book is, or will be, And Why We Were All Going.
Oh, so that's the one, right? Okay.
Yes,
So, and why we were all going, and that's been now you've established a new press company, haven't you, to do this?
Yes, I've been publishing for 2010, but for just over 10 years. Just over 10 years.
Say 2000. That's nearly 20.
Yeah.
It's just 2017.
Yeah, we're getting on, aren't we? And that's been different genres. I have published some poetry, and I do think of the publishing house as very much having an estuary identity. But for these new collections of poetry that I'm going to be publishing over the next few years, I liked the idea of a new imprint. And Three-Throated Press comes from Dylan's language, actually. It comes from Dylan Thomas's language, from the White Thigh of the Giant, when he talks of those throats. And it actually describes Carmarthen Bay, which is a bay which is fed by three rivers. So there's this idea of three voices, three throats, three opening throats of the rivers. And the logo for the press is a triple-headed heron, which again is a very important motif for the estuary and for this idea of triality, I suppose, between the other world, between the land and the sea, and ideas that can be taken, not just poems about landscape or the estuary, but this whole idea of taking another look at the world.
So you got that term, three-throated, or three. What was the term? Because that was in Dylan Thomas's work, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Do you remember the line? What did he say?
Well, the line that stuck with me actually came from another writer who described Carmarthen Bay as three-throated. And I said to him on the night I heard him say, "Oh, that's amazing." And he said, "Well, it's Dylan's. It's not Dylan's, actually. It is his. It's just that there's a little reference in the poem that Dylan mentions about throat, really, and that's that within a similar sort of context. So it was Mike's.
Well, going back to Ferryside,
Yes.
meanwhile.
Which we all should do.
Yeah. There's a Dylan Thomas Day, isn't there?
Yes,
now?
yeah, coming up.
Are we going to be celebrating like the Irish do for St. Patrick's or anything like that?
We'll do our best, yeah, certainly. I mean, Dylan Day this is its third year of incarnation now, since the centenary in 2014. And it takes place on the 14th of May, which is the day that Under Milkwood was first performed in New York, in the New York Y, the Poetry Centre there. And in 2016, we had a little celebration in the White Lion of Dylan Day, and I connected with a few friends in New York and in Sweden to do so. So we're hoping to do the same again this year. It's the White Lion is a lovely little local. It's a very creative pub, an awful lot of music events going on there. We have spoken word, and to celebrate Dylan Day, we'll be linking up from the White Lion. We'll have an open mic session there, and we'll be linking up with New York, with Tranås in Sweden, with Lisbon in Portugal, in Ireland. Last year we linked up with Stockholm and New York, and so we hope to do the same again. And we'll have video links so that people can come and read their work from Portugal, New York, in the pub, along with everybody else.
Excellent.
So
is there any way that people will be able to see that or access it online?
You can come to the Lion.
Oh, I'll certainly do that.
And that's what I was
But
going
it
to
might
give the
be a
greatest
blurred
plug.
vision
It's a live event. It's a live event, and it'll be taking place in the Lion. It's an open event. We would ask as many people as possible to come along. We may make some sort of recording of it. I don't know. That's not necessarily the intention. I mean, we're using new media to bring people live into the pub, and for us, that's enough. It doesn't need to be documented and recorded. We're using the media to make the thing happen internationally and live. So.
Yeah.
And in the summer school that you mentioned, the Dylan Thomas Summer School, what's the format of that? Can anybody join in or
It's The summer school is run by the University of Wales Trinity St David. It takes place primarily on the Lampeter campus, which is a beautiful place in itself. And Pam Petro, the travel writer I was mentioned earlier, was a graduate of Lampeter St David's University as it was then. And so it's attracting American writers more than anything else. It's a study abroad experience for writers, and we've had writers from Manhattanville University in New York, from Lesley College, from University of Maryland. So that's primarily where the writers come from, postgrad and undergrad students. And then they come, it's about sense of place, and hiraeth is a very, very important theme for Pam. It's central to the writing process there during the summer
Pam
school.
can speak Welsh, can't she?
Indeed,
Didn't she learn?
yes, yeah.
Puts me to shame, I can tell you.
Well, you're learning.
I'm learning.
You are, yes.
Yeah,
So
we're all dusky.
yes. How long does the summer school last for then?
It lasts for 10 days.
Oh, right, okay.
10 days.
Is that consecutive days?
Yes, yeah. And it's a residential course, and we have a kind of a travel itinerary that runs with it. You know, we go to the boathouse, we go to Cwmdonkin Drive. We're also going to Big Pit this year, and we'll be considering B.L. Coombs, some of those writers of the industry. So it's a fully inclusive thing.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much. It's been really interesting to talk to you. Thanks for coming in,
Chris.
Dominic.
And thanks for being bullied to recite some of your work.
From me and Annie. We'll see
It wasn't
you
too
next
difficult.
time. Thanks very much.